Good day. I'm Jim Bright with the Longhorn Historical Society, and I'm here on location at the gold mine at Gold Mine Park in Sugar Hill, Georgia. Today for Georgia on Location, we're going to be talking about three gold rushes. One that occurred here in Sugar Hill, one that occurred in Villa Rica, Georgia, and one that occurred in Dahlonega. The Dahlonega gold rush is going to have a direct correlation with the removal of the Cherokee Indians in North Georgia. So sit back as we explore how the gold rush is connected to the removal of the Cherokee. After the American Revolution, Georgia had gained huge amounts of land westward. So we began to move westward. This land was not in a vacuum. It was occupied by the Creeks and the Cherokee. So as we move westward, there is conflict that's going to arise with the Creek and the Cherokee. The Creek Indians, or the Muskogee Creek Indians, they were called the Creek because of where they lived. They lived near creeks and rivers, so they were called the Creek. But their real name is the Muskogees. So the Muskogees lived in here in Sugar Hill and southward. So where we're at right now would be Creek and Cherokee land. The Cherokee are going to live in North Georgia, Northwest Georgia, and they're going to have some influence in this area. But as we are moving west, we are buying the land from the Cherokee. We are winning the land through war, and eventually we're just going to take the land outright. So the Cherokee and the Creeks are faced with a few options. They could fight, they could sell it and make money, or they can just leave, which is in many cases what happens. They are forced to leave their ancestral homeland. Gold is discovered in 1828 in what will be Dahlonega, and this is really what gets the process of the Cherokee to be removed from North Georgia. Settlers are moving in, they're trying to prospect for gold. This is putting pressure on the Cherokee because they live on the land that the people are looking for gold in. So you have these conflicts, and eventually it's going to lead to the Trail of Tears. So this episode of Georgia on Location is going to have three parts. Today we're going to talk about the beginning and how the gold rushes led to the Trail of Tears. Then we're going to do part two, establishing more of that connection, and then we're going to close with part three, talking about the Trail of Tears itself. And I am here at the Pine Mountain Gold Museum in Villa Rica, Georgia, on location. We are going to talk about the discovery of gold here at Villa Rica, and ultimately how that connects to the removal of the Creek and Cherokee Indians in the state of Georgia. The last of the Muskogee Creek lands in Georgia was sold in 1825 by William McIntosh in the Treaty of Indian Springs. A year later, in 1826, gold was discovered in what will be called Villa Rica, which is Spanish for City of Riches or City of Gold. Although it didn't develop into a large gold rush that would strike Georgia a few years later in Dahlonega, there was a small gold rush in Villa Rica in the late 1820s, 1826 to be exact. When the Georgia Gold Rush took hold in Dahlonega, most of the Villa Rica miners moved northeast to Dahlonega. There were at least 19 active gold mines. By 1860, gold supplies in the area had been largely exhausted. And I am on location in Dahlonega, Georgia at the Gold Museum. Today's episode of On Location, we're going to talk about the gold rush that occurred here in 1828 and the results that occurred after people flocked to this area. The Dahlonega Gold Rush sped the removal of the Cherokee from North Georgia. Legend has it in 1828, a young man named Benjamin Parks kicked an unusual stone while deer hunting in North Georgia. The stone was actually a gold nugget, and Parks' find led to America's first gold rush in Dahlonega. The discovery did not bode well for the Cherokee. Soon after the discovery, thousands of white gold miners began clamoring for Cherokee land and began to settle there without permission, selling the land before they actually gained the rights to it. So many whites wanted to claim the land in the area that Georgia held a land lottery in the region in 1832. It did not matter that the Cherokee still lived on the land that was being allocated through the lottery. Hungry for land and gold, whites began to demand the removal of the Cherokee. In 1838, the Cherokee were removed from the region by the U.S. Army. This began the Trail of Tears. For 2 decades, gold was plentiful in and around Dahlonega. So much gold was found that in 1838, the U.S. government set up a mint. The mint produced almost 1.5 million gold coins. In 1849, however, California, the more famous gold rush began, and that brought thousands of Americans out west to find their fortunes. Even though there's still gold in North Georgia, Georgia's gold rush ended as soon as the first nugget was found in California.